Hello fellow stackers, 365 here, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I wanted to talk to you about a petition that GB News has recently started. Now their target is to get 250,000 people to sign it. Currently 130,000 people have already signed it. Now the petition is to keep hold of physical cash. Now, as many of you know from watching my videos and many other videos and just the news in general, CBDCs are just around the corner. The plan long term is to completely remove cash from the society. So, especially here in the UK, there's a real push for a cashless society. Now, you can already feel it because you go into many shops and the amount of shops that you find don't accept cash anymore. And there's a number of reasons behind this. And the reasons that most shops I found aren't accepting cash is because simply their banks are charging them to pay cash in. Not only are they charging them to deposit cash, they're also charging them to withdraw cash. So banks can't withdraw change to keep in their tills because it costs them money to do so. And at the same time, when they're trying to pay in the cash that they've made, they also can't do that because they're also getting charged a percentage or a fee to do that. So that's the way the banks are stopping people from accepting cash in businesses. A lot of small businesses just simply can't take the fee or the percentage charged to be able to accept cash. It doesn't make sense for them. So the only option is for them to only accept card payments. Now this is just a start in the shift to a cashless society. Now, there's many different reasons why a cashless society will heavily affect people's freedom. And I will leave a link to GB News' video in the description below because they really go into detail and they touch upon some of the things that I didn't even think of that will be changed and affected by a cashless society. So like I said, I will link their video in the description below so that you can also check that out. Now, the big thing that I see being an issue with a cashless society in regards to people like us that stack precious metals is it suddenly takes away your animosity and your freedom to be able to stack precious metals off the radar, off the books, and be able to hold a tangible asset that isn't tracked by anybody. If you go into a coin shop or you go into any bullion dealer and you currently pay with cash to buy this stuff, you're completely off the record, completely off the books. You can pass it on to your children. It's generational wealth that isn't tracked. No one knows about it. Whereas that will completely change when CBDCs are introduced. You'll no longer be able to buy precious metals off the book. It will no longer be an asset that is completely off the radar. Now, I believe that's the way the government want to go. And I've just done a video talking about Backyard Bullion's video where he wasn't able to buy precious metals from the Royal Mint using a particular bank. And his option was to use a different bank. Now, like I've said before in my previous video that I uploaded yesterday, that isn't an option once CBDCs arrive. You won't be able to just use another bank. If CBDCs algorithm tells you can't buy from a particular website or a particular industry or a particular country or whatever they decide, once that is built into the algorithm of the CBDCs, there's no override button. There's no option to go to a different bank or a different credit card or use a different debit card or even use this stuff, because this stuff won't exist. No other banks will exist. CBDCs will be the only form of currency. So they're really limiting your options. They're completely taking away your freedom, in my opinion. They're choosing where you can spend your money. They'll choose eventually how much you can spend in certain industries. If certain industries are struggling or they want to control inflation in certain sectors, they'll limit or they'll control who and how much you can buy in that particular sector, so they can manipulate the figures very, very quickly. So the purpose of today's video is to ask you to have a look at GB News' video and potentially sign their petition if you agree that you do not want a cashless society. In my opinion, they don't want you. When I say they, the government, the hierarchy, the central banks, they don't want you to invest in precious metals, because once you invest in precious metals, you're essentially your own bank. You're putting your wealth into this stuff and it is no longer in circulation. Now, once they release CBDCs, if they limit who can buy precious metals, or they completely stop people being able to buy precious metals. It's a way of them keeping CBDCs flowing. As soon as you spend CBDCs on this stuff, you're essentially taking some currency out of the system. Now, many people buy precious metals as a long-term investment. They look to hold it for the rest of their lives. They look to pass it on to their children. Now, do you really think the government and the central banks want you to literally take money out of the system and put it into your own banking system, your own store of wealth, and pass it on to your children without them knowing? The whole point of central bank digital currency is for them to be able to track exactly what you're doing. So do you really think they want you to be buying this stuff off the books, off the radar, handing it on to whoever you like, passing it down to your children, your friends, your family, whatever you may do with it, and they have no eyes on what you're doing, where this currency is going, who's got it, who's passing it on to who, how much is going here, how much is there, how much you've still got, how much you haven't got? And that is exactly the opposite to what they want. They want the control side of things. They want to be able to see where you're spending your money. They want to be able to see where the population is putting their money. And the minute you transfer it into precious metals, it is completely off the books, and they have no control. They have no eyes on it. So please do head over and watch GB News' video. Please do sign a petition to help keep a cash society. Like I said, the government want a cashless society. That is definitely not something that I want to see in my lifetime. It's not something I want my children to experience. I want the freedom of my children to be able to spend cash without being tracked, without being told where they can spend it, where they can't spend it. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you have a very nice day.